This will be then shared with the. Okay. So anyone in the class who can take this discussion further.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. उनकी आवाज ठीक है. ये यहाँ से काटें. I will. Yes, sir. Inayat Bhai is here. He wants to share his ideas.
Okay, I would like that everybody sitting in the class should aid to the discussion, so that you know the biggest challenge in the online classes is to create the engagement and interaction, and that is not possible if you are not coming to the dais and discussing the points we have.
Okay, sir. अगर आप थोड़ी सी खामोशी किया करें देखेंगे आवाज
प्लीज आप फ्रंट पे आ जाए प्लीज ऑल ऑफ यू शुड कम इन द फ्रंट ये पीछे जो लोग मोबाइलें देख रहे हैं प्लीज कम इन द फ्रंट प्लीज डोंट वॉच योर मोबाइल प्लीज आप या क्लास से निकल जाए या फिर क्लास में आ जाए ना दिस इज नॉट दी वे मेरे ख्याल में आप सबसे टेलीफोन हम कलेक्ट कर ले तो ज्यादा सीरियसली हम काम कर लेंगे बिकॉज इफ यू आर नॉट सी सब फ्रंट पे बैठ जाए प्लीज वो जो पीछे लोग बैठे आखिरी रो में द पर्सन ऑन द लेफ्ट टू पीपल इन द लेफ्ट वो एक उसके पीछे बैठे हैं तख्ते के पीछे पार्टीशन के पीछे ये कौन है आगे आ जाए सर आगे आ जाए प्लीज क्लास में सीरियस आप होंगे तो फिर मुझे मजा आएगा ना इफ यू आर नॉट सीरियस देन आई विल नॉट एंजॉय टीचिंग यू ये जरा जहन में रख के चले जी लेट अस हबीब साहब टेक दिस इनायत प्लीज कम ऑन unmute and please discuss the challenges we are facing ये बीच में कुर्सियां खाली भी है प्लीज fill the chairs come in the front हाँ क्लास में देखे ना क्लास should be a serious matter because you all are very important for me and my time is also very important तो बहुत सारी जगहों से निकल के क्लास में हम आ जाते हैं ऑनलाइन तो kindly because time is very expensive on both sides Haji, Inayat, please come and aid to the discussion if you can. Unmute and please discuss. And let me tell you, the proceedings are recorded. So we will be sharing with you. Please come on. Unmute and please start. Yes.
Sir. सर इस तरह है कि एक तो यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा जो है हमारे गैजेट्स अपनी प्लेस पे नहीं है
खैर कोई नहीं है ये टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ ये चलता रहेगा दिस इज नाउ आवर लाइफ
फाइन सर
तो डोंट वरी
इस तरह है कि प्रोक्योरमेंट प्रोसेस के हवाले से आपने कहा था और क्या मुश्किलात
आई थिंक if we I will place this on the YouTube so if we discuss this in the context of English it will be more useful for the wider audience so that even the people who are not in the class can also take the benefit. Even somebody in the Sri Lanka or maybe in the UK can get the benefit of this discussion. Okay, so we were discussing that the challenges we face in the public sector projects and particularly the procurement. Over to you.
Sir, as your good self has assigned this very task and assignment that what are the major challenges we are actually facing in public sector organizations while doing the procurement process? Sir, I have listed down some very basic issues which are related in context of Baltistan. Being an officer of one of the prestigious institution that is the Public Works Department, which actually executes 45% of our development budget in entire GB. So, first of all, as we know that identification is very important. What sort of procurement we are supposed to procure, that is very important we have in our context. When it comes procurement process, like we are doing different public sector projects, work sector is there, goods and services are there, and so are consultancy services. But in our case, when it comes identification of procurement, as I have listed down that most of the public sector projects are being identified by public representative of Baltistan. So they actually identify our projects which are to be done by GB government, GB Works Department. So identification, when it comes identification issue, the projects are not being properly identified. We have thoroughly discussed this thing that all stakeholders are not being taken into the board. So this is one of the major issues. Likewise, public demand is not being considered when we are considering projects. So that is one of the biggest problem. Similarly, elected representatives are there to identify public sector projects. But we have seen in Gilgit city that biasness in public representatives is proven evident. There's something evident which has been time and again noticed that public representatives do not represent public without biases. So this is about identification of public procurement goods and services. The second stage is tendering process, invitation for bids. Now, as per PEPRA rules, we have very, very clear guidelines given here that what should be the ideal or the acceptable process for tendering. Now, in our case, we have seen belated notices are being issued, and wide circulation, which is the essence of public procurement, that is not being actually addressed. Departments don't have their own websites. While it is clearly mentioned in PEPRA that department must have their own website in which the notices should be properly published, besides to dailies and PEPRA, that is the basic, we publish our tender notices in PEPRA. So that is tendering process, invitation for bids related issues. The third thing is evaluation committee, evaluate each bid as per tender notice PEPRA rules. Again, what I have witnessed in Public Works Department for last 3 years, I'm dealing in these things. So the most of the time, projects are not being properly evaluated. There is some sort of biasness is tampering, is there favoritism, is there corrupt practices are being practiced in evaluation stage. Fourth is negotiation with bidder where necessary. I haven't seen so much, our in government sector, in public sector, negotiation is not being done as it is conceived in project procurement process. So it is something which is not being practiced in GB. Negotiation that is done before the tendering process. पर होता ये है कि हम ठेकेदार के साथ पहले ही हमारी बार्गेन हो चुकी होती है. So we are not doing the thing logically or by book. And the final thing is finalize the bid and start order being issued to contractor bidder. This is what we practice is start order. We issue start orders when the entire process is being done. We issue start orders, and that's how the project kicks off, sir. So this is from my side, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else in the class who would like to contribute or just to discuss? जी, कोई और क्लास में who will like to aid to this discussion?
Sir.
Alaikum salam. Ji, please carry on.
Engineer Shafkat, civil engineer. I will
Please
contribute in continuation of what has been. One major thing, sir, which Mr. Knight did not address is eligibility and qualification criteria and preparation of an unambiguous bidding documents. So while going into a bidding process and issuance of bidding documents to prospective firms, bidders, we should constitute a committee of technical officers who have grasp knowledge of procurements, preparation of bidding documents. So, sir, as I have seen, I have suffered recently from my consultant, and finally, I forcefully have to terminate them because they failed to deliver the documents as per obligation of contractor. Sir, I want to contribute that while preparing bidding documents, a thorough and comprehensive eligibility and qualification criteria should be in place, whether it is services, whether it is works related or goods, so that future action, of course, could be corrected accordingly.
I agree with
It is
you.
very
Actually, if you look at we will discuss this pre-qualification of consultants, there are 5 methods we will discuss. But all these methods and the success of these methods depend on the exhaustive exercise to check the credibility of the firms in terms of their capacity, in terms of their experience, in terms of the human resource available with them, and in terms of their leadership teams. So in fact, the major issue which we face is normally coming from the fact that the pre-qualification or selection or technical evaluation of the firms is not done holistically and comprehensively. And many times, for example, we believe in the certificates many times, and we believe that what they have furnished as performance certificates may be correct. But many times I have seen that these certificates have been tempered by the consultants and the contractors sometimes. And we don't, for example, consult and contact the executing agencies are the employers who are very important to give us the realistic report of their performance. So the performance reports in case of pre-qualification or shortlisting of the firms is very important to be obtained in person. And if required, you can visit these organizations. But what we normally do, that we sometimes believe that the data provided by the firm is reliable, and we don't take much pains in evaluating and in assessing the credibility of the data. The second very important consideration is that it does not mean that if a person has been pre-qualified, there is always a post-qualification also. So if at later stage of the contract you find that the kind of human resource which the consultant has committed is not available at site, and he is not giving you the kind of inputs which they have committed, this certainly you can refer that case to the removal or to the expulsions. And you discussed with me last time that in your case, for example, the consultant has been failed to provide the services as per the agreed terms of reference, and that is the case where we should take immediate action. Certainly, if there is any arbitration dispute, it would continue, but the project should not suffer. If there is any litigation, if somebody goes to the court of law and takes the stay order, we should. हाँ जी, आवाज आ रही है? हेलो, हाँ जी, आवाज आ रही है? Okay, thank you. There was some problem. Aaj Islamabad, I don't know, the internet is not stable. You never know what happens in Islamabad. Sometimes it becomes even worse than Gilgit in terms of connectivity and power. But anyhow, we are facing, I think there might be some problem here. I'm sitting in the Institution of Engineers, and actually we are contesting the election for the chairman of the Institution of Engineers, Rawalpindi Islamabad chapter. Currently, I'm the vice chairman. So the next election is happening in this month. I mean, it will continue through postal ballot for 1 month. And inshallah, tomorrow I'm leaving to Muscat and then Kathmandu, and then for Umrah. So for 10 days, I'll be away from university. आप दुआ करें अल्लाह सबको अपने ज़मान में रखे. So that is something. Okay, so we were discussing, I'll be back on 23rd, inshallah, and then we will resume the classes online or physical. But anyhow, this would continue like this, maybe for a couple of weeks. Okay, so thank you very much. I think we refer to the discussion in the class, and this was just to make you all guys a bit involved in the Stop sharing. What's happening? Okay. I just want to start my class from the previous. Yes, can you see the presentation? Yes, so we discussed last time the project procurement management and process, that we have the planning, then we have the tender invitation or solicitation, and then we plan how the contract will be invited, or the tender will be invited, and then we go for the invitation process, then we select the source, and then we sign the agreement, and finally we execute the contract, and then we close out the contract. Last day I was just writing the chapter on the FEDEC Red Book and my book, which I would like to be ready by end of September. I think I'm just putting some case studies. The main book has been now ready. I'll just show you the and I want that this is by the time you are doing this course, I publish it so that you can also benefit from this book. It is basically I just would like to share a little bit of this. Okay. Okay, so this is the table of contents. It's about 200 pages book, and I'm now adding some case studies for your interest. So if you just look at the table of content, it discusses the project management introduction. What are the knowledge areas? What are the different 10 knowledge areas and processes? Then we are going for the project procurement, which is the first lecture we discussed last time, and we will continue with this. And the third chapter is about the procurement methods or the project management strategies. We may discuss that a bit today, and that will be followed by the public procurement regulations and rules and the amendments, and some case studies that how it can be interpreted in different conditions. Then we have the international procurements. What are the different types we normally do? For example, the cost and insurance, cost, insurance, and freight, and so on. And then we have the e-procurement, some of the fundamental principles. And I would like to work with you guys to bring this e-procurement regime in the Gilgit-Baltistan at least. We are trying to bring this in in the Karakoram University also. The second part of the book is then contract, and there is contract management, the contract, FEDEC contract documents, and then that's followed by Pakistan Engineering Council bidding documents, then procurement of consultancy services, the contract dispute resolutions, contract economic price adjustments, extension of time claims, construction insurances. So these are the 14 chapters, and I would like that this book is ready by the time maybe by end of this month, this year, so that I would like to see one book each in your library, so that you can take the benefits from this book. Okay, thank you. So coming back to the okay, ये कोर्स पढ़ाने के बाद थोड़ा मुझे मोटिवेशन हो रही है कि ये मैं जल्दी, because you know I'm highly occupied, but still I try to find some time for my students and for my learning. Okay, sir. So next we go to the now the categories of project that based on the various risk involved, we can divide the projects in a major or high risk project, like the projects where the complexity is very high, the purchase of something which does not exist, tailored to the project's unique specifications. And I discussed with you last time, that for instance, the procurement of a data center, which we have never procured before, or some high technology products and services, that might be very high risky projects because we don't have the kind of experience which is required for procurement of such kinds of projects. These would be considered critical sub-projects. The second is low-risk projects where the complexity of the project is not very high, and but it represents large monetary value. but the commodities exist and will conform to the seller's existing product specifications. For example, if we discuss a high-risk project currently being executed in Gilgit-Baltistan, might be the heart hospital, because you know that the heart related equipment may be very highly specified, and there might be some experience required to procure such kind of. Similarly, if we talk about the procurement of equipment for cancer hospitals, again, this would be a high-risk project because we involve a lot of complex kind of procurements in which we need to have a very highly qualified and experienced team to determine the specifications in terms of reference. But sometimes the project may be low risk, but large in monetary value. For example, a project having 2 or 3 billion or 5 billion amount of the project, but the nature of work may be familiar to us, and we might have done. For example, if you are thinking about a new road from Gilgit to say the Shandur, that might be a very large and maybe 5 billion or 10 billion projects, but the risk is low in the sense that we know the nature of challenges we can face based on our earlier experience in this kind of projects. The third category of projects can be off-the-shelf commercial, for example, the commodities which are readily available in the shelf and you can buy from the market by adopting some generic specifications. And then there might be some special procurements which are specially required for the corporates. For example, currently we are procuring the ERP, Enterprise Resource Plan, software for the university, and we have outsourced this project to the ComSet University to develop different modules for the ERP of university. So this is a special requirement of university because we want to bring all the operations online from HR to transport and finances and the student services, the LMS and all these. So we want to develop the campus management system, and that ERP has to be very robust in the sense that all the information must be available online to the students and to the employees and to the stakeholders. Then we have the special procurement. To other segment, now the high-risk projects which are having the complexity, they are the projects which are either very risky in form of technical specifications, or maybe the quality is very important, or maybe the cost and schedule is very risky. For example, if you're talking about the equipment for the accessories for heart hospital equipment, that might be very risky, and the technical specification has to be very carefully developed in consultation with the consultants, with the experienced firms. And similarly, the quality may be, for example, if we are procuring a ventilator, which is a highly technical, and the quality can create a lot. If the ventilator has been failed, for example, it can lead to the death of the patient. The cost again is another very big issue, which can be risky sometime when we are dealing, for example, with the foreign procurements, with the currency fluctuation can become a big challenge. And we have seen that many times the suppliers sometimes refuse to deliver the products if there is very high inflation in the market. And the schedule was a big challenge we faced, the supply chain challenge we faced during the COVID. So there can be a lot of complexities of the projects. For example, a new radar system or a new software development, I already discussed that we are developing a new software for the university, and that can be a risky project if we are not able to get the required kind of services. A major structural element, a design to performance requirement, project interface documents, high risk to the overall project, and so on. So these are some of the examples in which we have projects where high risk is involved due to the complexity of project, and maybe due to the complexity of the area where we have the weather issues, where we have the social issues, where we have the financial issues. Now, the high-risk projects, for example, the architectural design of a new commercial center can be a problem. The construction of a new production factory, the outsourcing of information technology services, the creation of new software project, the development of new computers, new airplanes, and a new radar system. So these are some of the projects where the risk of cost, time or schedule or quality can be very high in terms of its services for the end users. क्या नजर आ रहा है जी? What is visible? What is written in the slide? हाँ जी, minor. Yes. हाँ जी, कोई आके पढ़ ले ताकि मैं भी सुनूं कि आपको आपकी आवाज भी मुझे. हाँ जी. Okay, Inayat or Gulfam or anybody else who can come to the dais and read it out. ताकि आपकी थोड़ी वर्जिश भी हो.
Then I would think the prompt. The slide is showing a minor low risk complexity procurements, and it says these procurements are for items which exist in some form with a given seller and are defined by the seller's own product specification. Some examples of these procurements might be the purchase of existing automobiles, buses, transportation vehicles, or perhaps aircraft, the purchase of an existing radar system or large electrical generators, the purchase of existing but high-value software, and the purchase of existing computers and are developed but high-value components.
So these are some of the projects which are having very routine kind of projects we normally do. For example, procurement of furniture, buying of a new automobile for the university, something which is already existing and you want to buy another product of the same nature. So normally this kind of products are not very risky in terms of procurement. The reason is that we already have the experience, we have the bill of quantities, we have the TORs, we have the tender documents, and we already have the success story with us for this kind of procurements. Now, the routine procurements or off-the-shelf procurements are the products which are available in the market. For example, the raw material like nuts, bolts, fasteners, sheet metal, services like testing, routine nature. Similarly, the security services, accounting services, and cafeteria services, which we normally outsource to the agencies outside the organizations. And these are not typically very vital for the success of the project, and it might be kind of not very major activities are involved. For example, the transportation for the staff to pick and drop, that can also be kind of service we would need, but that is not, that is something which is available. We can talk to the transporting agency and we can hire some services from the market very easily. The special procurements, which are for the strategic company teaming agreements, the executives of the one company and another company or companies agree to combine their assets, facilities, people, shared risk, etc., and go for a new segment of work, typically in the form of some new project. And this is normally a kind of, for example, if there's a project like in an airport, a new airport in Gilgit, might be we have some special arrangement of the JV partners, and they come and make their joint venture to apply for this kind of project. And they share their resources, their risks, their assets, their human resource and non-human resource, and so on. So this kind of project is very special arrangement. It's not very common in every organization, but normally in the bigger projects where multi-billion of investment is required, and we don't have the specialty may be available in one firm. So we try to bring, the firms may pool together their resources, and they may try to create a strength and as a JV partner. Remember, the joint venture partnership in the engineering project is to be regulated by the JV agreement approved by the Pakistan Engineering Council. ये आप जरूर याद रख ले कि it's not just having a stamp paper and two companies say that we will be working as a joint venture. There is a well-defined joint venture agreement template which has been approved by Pakistan Engineering Council for engineering projects. It is a very well-defined. We have been working very hardly with this with development of this at Pakistan Engineering Council. And within this JV partnership template, all roles are defined. For example, who will be the lead partner, who will put the resources, who will be the managing the finances of the project, and so on. So please, if any firm or any two firms are applying to you, to your organization for a JV partnership on a project, this JV partnership must be executed on the prescribed approved template of the Pakistan Engineering Council. This is available at the website of the Pakistan Engineering Council. And if there is any project where you see that a JV partnership has been formed, you must advise them to submit the JV partnership on the Pakistan Engineering Council approved template. This is very important because both सारी जगहों पे in one of the cases where I was one of the reviewer, I would not name the organization or the place, but this was a multi-billion project in which the JV partnership was not done at the prescribed format, and later on, when there was some litigation, this was really a big challenge for the organization to defend their position in the court of law. So if there's any two firms who would like to come as a JV partners, then joint venture partners is a special arrangement. This joint venture partnership must be executed in inked as per the template approved by the Pakistan Engineering Council, because all these documents are legal documents. These have been approved by the Pakistan Engineering Council and ratified by the government of Pakistan. So I don't want to read it out, but certainly we have some special arrangement. And now when we are doing the procurement, we make two fundamental decisions, which is, we call it make or buy decision. You might have heard this, that, for example, if there is some work which I would like to do internally by departmental labor, for example, we recently executed some work through the internal by engaging our own resources, which was a partition of some of the rooms, and we established a shed for the scripts in the examination department. Now, this is work we did inside internal. Instead of engaging the resources from outside, we tried to do it in-house. So sometime you might be having the expertise in-house, and you make it yourself. Maybe you have carpenters, you have different kind of traders with you, and they are working with you to develop the products you need for the university or for the organization. And the second decision would be that we should buy it from, or we should procure it from outside. Now, this make or buy decision is very important when we are trying to procure the goods or services, that whether you will be doing it inside the project or you will be doing it outside. That is called make or buy decision. Now, some of the emerging trends in the procurement, for example, there are online tools for procurement where we have the e-procurement, for example, is very common in the world now, to bring the transparency, accountability, and also the competitiveness. Instead of physically involving the people, it is more advisable that we go for the online tools. It will certainly create more transparency, more competitiveness, and more accountability. And the KP government has been doing this very successfully. There is another tool which is very common now, is building information modeling, or BIM, which is very common, and some of the engineers might be knowing it, and maybe some of you would have worked on it, which reduces the cost and schedule overruns. It's more like Primavera, but it's a bit more in its capacity from the Primavera. It is more advanced. More advanced risk management. Due to increased risk in projects, contracts may specify the risk management be performed as part of the contract. So this is another that the projects where we expect that there will be more risk involved. We advise the contractor that at the time of bidding, they should also work out the risk management plan. That what is the alternative contingency plans with them in case of different risk environment, which we discussed in the previous course. So in high-risk projects, for example, which involve a very complex design or very huge investment, or maybe some highly specialized human resource, we may ask or solicit from the contractor that they should also develop a risk management plan with them, and this risk management plan must be shared with the employer. Changing contracting processes, international multinational projects with multi-billion value makes it important to use the international standard form of contracting or being used. And we discussed this last time, that it is becoming more obligatory for the international contracts to use the FedEx documents, which are more comprehensive, universal in terms of its application. So in Pakistan, I have written last day a letter to the Pakistan Engineering Council chairman that the FedEx 1987 version, which we are currently using, we should switch now to 1999 version. We will discuss this, the difference between the two versions, because the 1999 version is providing a very comprehensive way to deal with the disputes in the projects. So we will discuss this Dispute Education Board, DAB, and Dispute Education and Avoidance Board, DAAB. So these are some of the terms which have been introduced in the 1999 version of the FedEx. Unfortunately, the current bidding document, which is used by Pakistan Engineering Council, is based on FedEx Red Book 1987. ये आप लिख ले अपने साथ. The FedEx Red Book 1987, which is currently used, which has been amended in 1992, but unfortunately the PC is not adopted so for the 1999 version, though there is 2017 version also. अभी रेड बुक का 2017 वर्जन भी आया है, but at least they should go to the. So I have written a letter last day to the chairman Pakistan Engineering Council that we should switch over to FedEx 1999 version, because that is more comprehensive about the dispute resolution. Another challenge which we face in the procurement is the logistic and supply chain management. It's again very, for example, in case of COVID, we faced a lot of supply chain challenges. So in case of any pandemics or any epidemics, it would become really very challenging for the world to have the timely completion of the projects. And you could see this even as of today, the world is not normalized, and we still face the supply chain challenges. In complex construction projects, long lead items may require ordering 1 to 2 years in advance or longer. In the complex projects like procuring a radar system or procurement of the aeroplanes or procurement of some high technology solutions, this would require a lot of time, because these products are not very easily available in the market. And normally the design process in the manufacturing and procurement process would take 1 to 2 years. And certainly if you have not properly planned it, then definitely you will be in trouble sometime. Many countries around the world require international contractor to purchase certain minimum percentage of material and supplies from local vendors. This is also the law in the Pakistani law, that at least 30% of the procurement should be done from the local vendors. So if you are bringing international solutions, there is a law which is also implemented by Pakistan Engineering Council, that at least 30% of the procurement for a project should be done by from local vendors. So this law is also, this is normally done to improve and to encourage the local industry, because if you are bringing everything from outside, then definitely it would not create advantage for the local industry. So that's why the government of Pakistan under the SRO has made it obliged for the international companies to hire at least 30% of their human resource from the local, and also buys at least 30% of their products from the local vendors, so that the local industry is also encouraged. The technology and stakeholder relations, the progress on the project can be viewed on the internet by all the stakeholders. Video data can be stored, allowing analysis if a claim arises. So another which is also called online project management, This is another increasing trend that the online video recording about the progress of the disputes can be used even in the courts in case of any claims and disputes. And that is where the modern technology can help us a lot to improve the project management and project monitoring. Video cams at site can reduce the claims in dispute all projects. So there is a very good evidence from the research that the projects which are under the surveillance of the video cams online have very little incidence of the claims in disputes. So there is another artificial intelligence application in the project management which can bring a lot of advantage to the quality and to the timely completion. The trial engagements, some projects will engage several candidate sellers for initial deliverables in both products on the paid basis before making the full commitment for a larger portion of the project scope. And this is normally for innovative products where we will engage different vendors to develop the initial prototype. And based on the best selected prototype, then we go for larger procurement. So this is normally done for the innovative products where we need some innovative thinking, innovative design processes. Now, tailoring of the project procurement will depend, we discuss the complexity, the physical location. How would you plan your procurement? What kind of strategy you would select for the project? What kind of procurement methods would you select? That would depend, first of all, the complexity of the procurement. For example, if the bill of quantities and the specifications are very simple, maybe you go for the direct bidding process in which you go for single envelope procedure and you just invite the bids and you are sure that the specifications are very clear. But if the technical performance is more important, then you may go for the two envelope procedures and you may get the technical score first and see that what kind of technical challenges we can face. And based on that, you may select or shortlist some of the firms who can then later compete for the financial. Now, the physical location is again very important. And this challenge we normally see also in the Gilgit-Baltistan because many good projects cannot be done because we don't have the local vendors. And then the cost becomes really very challenging for us. So more distance will create more challenge. The governance and regulatory environment, there are a lot of challenges if there is for example, the provincial regulatory authorities, maybe federal regulatory authorities, and maybe regional regulatory authorities and taxation system will be another challenge which can increase or decrease the procurement cost. The availability of contractors, this is another critical issue we face also in the Gilgit-Baltistan, and the reason is that unfortunately the level of contractors and their qualification and their human and non-human resources are not at par with the standards we need. So these are some of the problems based on which we decide that whether we will go for national bidding, international bidding, or we will try to bring a two envelope procedure or single stage, single envelope, and maybe we sometimes decide to go for direct contracting if we believe that the nature of procurement is very unique and we don't have more than one supplier which is exclusive distributor or the sole manufacturer of the product. So these are some of the fundamental questions which we normally place before us. And there might be some corporate guidelines from the department you are working who can guide you that if, for example, for this kind of procurement, you may go for this kind of bidding process and so on. So thank you very much. We have a break for 10 to 15 minutes and then we resume. मैं ये बंद करता हूँ अपना ये रिकॉर्डर, उसको दोबारा फिर हम